Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today we have an absolutely exciting topic that every coin collector and treasure hunter will love. We are diving into the top 8 most valuable Abraham Lincoln pennies that are worth a fortune. Some of these rare pennies have sold for thousands and even millions of dollars in the current market, so make sure you stay tuned until the end because number 1 will absolutely blow your mind. We have a fascinating story that could put money in your pocket, and it all revolves around the 1960 D Abraham Lincoln 1-cent penny. Yes, you heard that right. A simple penny could be worth way more than 1 cent, so stay tuned because we are going deep into the history, the value, and the current market trends for this legendary coin. Let's start with a little history lesson. The Lincoln cent is one of the longest-running coin series in American history. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's face. Prior to this, most coins showed symbols, allegorical figures like Lady Liberty or national icons, not actual people. The designer was Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB you might notice on some Lincoln cents. The Lincoln penny replaced the Indian head cent, which had been in circulation since 1859. Fast forward to 1960, the United States Mint made some interesting changes to the Lincoln cent that year. In particular, there was a difference in the size of the date numerals, leading to 2 versions of the 1960 penny, the small date and the large date, and guess what? It did not stop there. Both versions were minted in Philadelphia with no mint mark and Denver with a D mint mark. The Denver small date versions are the real stars of the show, rare, harder to find, and sometimes fetching a premium, especially in mint state condition. Now you may be wondering why all the fuss about small date versus large date. Well, collectors are incredibly detail-oriented. Even slight variations in a coin's design can mean the difference between face value and a small fortune. The 1960 D small date Lincoln cent is much scarcer compared to its large date counterpart, making it highly sought after by coin collectors, especially those who love Lincoln memorabilia. But what exactly is the difference between the small date and the large date Lincoln penny? In the small date version, the tops of the numbers are almost perfectly level with each other, whereas on the large date, the 6 and 0 are much taller and more prominent. The small date numbers are more delicate, more compressed, and they are often harder to spot unless you know exactly what you are looking for. If you have a 1960 D penny lying around at home, you might want to grab a magnifying glass and check the date carefully because you could be sitting on a little treasure. Now let's talk about value. What is the 1960 D small date penny actually worth? Well, it depends on the condition. If your penny is heavily circulated, meaning it has lots of scratches, dings, or wear and tear, it might be worth anywhere from a few dollars up to around $20. However, if you happen to have a mint state example, that is a coin that looks fresh out of the mint with little or no signs of wear, then the value can climb dramatically. High-grade specimens can fetch anywhere from $50 to several $100s, depending on just how pristine they are. In particular, coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC can command a premium. Coins graded MS65 or higher can easily bring in a couple $100, and if you have a coin graded MS67 or MS68, then you are talking serious money. Think 400, 500, or even more. In fact, there have been auction sales where a single 1960 D small date Lincoln cent sold for over $1,000. That is right, a tiny copper coin that most people would overlook could be a hidden jackpot. What about error coins, you might ask? Great question. The 1960 D penny is also known for some fascinating errors, including doubled dies, repunched mint marks, and even off-center strikes. A doubled die error happens when the coin is struck twice with a slightly misaligned die, resulting in a doubled appearance of the design. Repunched mint marks, or RPMs, occur when the mint worker had to manually punch the D mint mark into the coin die more than once, leading to a noticeable doubling or tripling of the mint mark. These error coins are extremely collectible and can be worth significantly more than standard small date pennies. In some cases, error versions have sold for thousands of dollars depending on their rarity and condition. Alright, so you might be wondering what the current market looks like today in 2025. Well, the 1960 D small date Lincoln penny remains highly desirable among collectors while values fluctuate depending on demand and the coin market. In general, high-grade certified small date pennies still command impressive prices. In general, a circulated example might still net you around $10 to $20. A nice uncirculated piece could bring in 100 or more, and superb gem quality examples could easily soar to $500 and beyond, especially if it has special features like full red color designation, which means the penny has retained its original bright coppery red color from the mint without darkening or toning. Red designation is very important because Lincoln cents are made of 95% copper, and copper tends to oxidize over time. Coins with full red designation are much rarer and thus more valuable compared to brown or red-brown coins. In coin collecting lingo, red-brown means the coin shows a mix of original red and some brown toning, while brown means it has completely darkened over the years. Full red examples are the most prized among collectors, and they can command 2 or even 3 times the value of a brown coin in the same grade. Now, if you are serious about selling your 1960 D penny, you have a few options. You can sell it at a coin show through an online auction house like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers, or through eBay. Be sure to get it graded first if it looks to be in good condition, because buyers trust certified coins much more than raw ungraded coins. Plus, a certified coin often gets a higher price, which means more money in your pocket. If you are buying one to add to your collection, be cautious. There are fake small date pennies out there. Some unscrupulous sellers take large date coins and alter them to look like small dates. Always buy from reputable dealers, or better yet, purchase coins that have already been authenticated and graded by a top service like PCGS or NGC. In conclusion, the 1960D Abraham Lincoln small date 1-cent penny is an absolute gem of American coinage history. It combines a rich historical background, a touch of mystery, with the small versus large date varieties, and the potential for serious financial reward. If you happen to find the right coin, whether you are a seasoned numismatist or a casual hobbyist, it is definitely worth checking your change jars, old piggy banks, and inherited coin collections. You never know when you might stumble upon a valuable piece of history. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive into the 1960D Lincoln penny. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and family, and do not forget to subscribe for more awesome coin content every week. Also, let me know in the comments if you have ever found a 1960D small date penny or any other valuable coins in your collection. I would love to hear your stories. We have something very exciting to talk about, especially if you love coins and hidden treasures. Today, we are diving into the incredible story of the 1969 S Lincoln 1-cent coin. Yes, you heard that right, one small penny that could actually be worth a lot of money, so make sure you watch all the way to the end because you do not want to miss out on this. First, let's rewind back to 1969. It was a big year in American history. We had the moon landing, Woodstock, the Vietnam War was ongoing, and at the same time over in San Francisco, something very interesting happened at the United States Mint. They were striking Lincoln cents, and a very small number of those coins came out with a mistake, a big mistake called a double die error. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is a double die? Well, simply put, during the process of making coins, the die, which is basically like a stamp that punches the design onto blank coins, sometimes gets struck twice, but not perfectly aligned. When that happens, the image and letters on the coin can appear doubled, and that makes the coin very special to collectors. In 1969, the San Francisco Mint accidentally created a double die variety on the Lincoln cent. Specifically, the obverse of the coin, or the front side with Lincoln's portrait, showed strong doubling on the words "Liberty in God We Trust" and the date 1969. If you ever see a 1969 S penny and the letters and numbers look like they are shadowed or doubled, you might just be holding a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars. Now, what makes this even crazier is how rare these coins really are. Experts estimate that only about 100 examples exist today. That is right, out of the millions and millions of pennies made in 1969, only a tiny handful are known to have this major double die error, and because of that rarity, the value can go through the roof. So how much are we talking about? Well, some examples have sold for unbelievable prices. Back in 2008, a 1969 S double die obverse penny sold for over $126,000 at auction. Another one sold for nearly $105,000. These are life-changing amounts of money for something that most people would just see as a regular old penny. But wait, it gets even better. Even lower grade examples, coins that are not in perfect condition, have still sold for thousands and thousands of dollars. For instance, if you have one in decent circulated condition, it could still be worth $10,000 or more. Imagine finding one in a jar of old change or tucked away in a drawer somewhere. Now, you might be asking, how do I know if I have the real thing? Well, there are a few important things to check. First, you must see the S mint mark below the date that shows it was made in San Francisco. Second, you want to look very carefully at the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." The doubling should be clear and very noticeable, not just a little blurry. If it looks suspicious or you think you might have something special, it is a good idea to have the coin authenticated by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. They can certify the coin and give it an official grade, which can really help if you decide to sell it. Speaking of selling, the current market in 2025 for these rare 1969 S double die pennies is still very strong. Even though the coin market goes up and down like everything else, this particular era coin remains one of the most sought after coins among collectors. Some auctions today are seeing prices between $50,000 and $100,000 depending on the grade, and I appeal coins in top condition always bring a premium, but even ones with scratches or wear can still fetch a serious price. And guess what? There are even stories of people finding them in pocket change. It does not happen often, but it is not impossible. That is why it always pays to check your coins. You never know when a simple penny could turn into a huge payday. Also, a quick but important note, there are many fake 1969 S doubled die pennies out there. Since the real ones are worth so much money, unfortunately some people have tried to counterfeit them. That is why it is so important to have a trusted professional look at your coin before you start making plans to sell it. Now, you might be wondering about the regular 1969 pennies too. What if you have a 1969 penny without the S mint mark? Those coins are much more common and usually only worth a few cents unless they are in pristine uncirculated condition, but without that big doubling error, and without that S mint mark, they are not going to be worth the crazy amounts we are talking about today. To sum it all up, the 1969 S Lincoln cent with the double die obverse is one of the holy grails of modern American coin collecting. It combines rarity, history, and incredible value into one small copper coin. If you are lucky enough to find one, it could change your life, and even if you do not, it is still a lot of fun to check your change and dream about the possibilities. So next time you get some pennies from the store or you are cleaning out an old jar of coins, take a few minutes to look closely. You never know when a simple act of curiosity could turn into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. We are diving deep into a fascinating piece of American history and a tiny treasure that might just be hiding in your pocket. We are talking about the Abraham Lincoln 1-cent penny from 1975, how it came to bytes, incredible backstory, why collectors love it, and just how much it could be worth right now in the current market. Section 1. The history of the 1975 Lincoln penny and why. First things first, the Lincoln penny has a long and proud history in American coinage. It was first issued in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was actually the first U.S. coin to feature a real person instead of Lady Liberty. Fast forward to 1975. The penny was still sporting that iconic portrait of Lincoln on the front or obverse side, and the reverse side showed the image of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. This design had been used since 1959, which marked Lincoln's 150th birthday. By 1975, the penny was being minted in huge numbers both at the Philadelphia Mint and at the Denver Mint, which is marked with a little d below the year. However, the 1975 penny looks simple at first glance, but there is a lot going on behind the scenes that makes some of them incredibly valuable today. Section 2. The makeup and unique FEATURES. Most 1975 pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This is important because copper is a precious metal and prices for copper have soared over the decades. Each of these pennies actually contains about 2 cents worth of copper in today's market. Yes, you heard that right, a penny with 2 cents of copper inside. But the real story is not just about metal content, it is about condition, rarity, and errors. Mint errors, especially from the 1970s, are highly sought after by collectors. Double dies, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, all of these can send the value of a 1975 penny soaring into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on how rare and how dramatic the error is. Section 3. Types of valuable 1975 PNNIS. One of the biggest things collectors look for is the 1975 double die obverse. This means the design elements like Lincoln's profile or the word Liberty appear double. These are pretty rare and can command a lot of money. Another highly prized find is the 1975 off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not properly aligned during minting, so part of the design is missing. If the date is still visible and the off-center is dramatic, like 50% off, you could be looking at a penny worth hundreds of dollars. Also look for pennies that are in mint state condition. That means coins that have never been circulated and still look brand new. In the coin collecting world, grades like MS65, MS66, and especially MS67 are where the serious money starts to roll in. In MS67, a 1975 penny could be worth over $1,000. Section 4. How much is a 1975 Lincoln penny worth? TODY. Alright, let us get into the numbers. A normal circulated 1975 Lincoln penny without any major errors is usually worth about 2 to 5 cents because of the copper value. However, a really clean circulated coin might fetch 25 cents to $1 from a collector looking to complete a set. Now, if you have a 1975 penny in mint state condition, meaning it is shiny and free of scratches, it could be worth anywhere from $5 to $50 depending on the grade. And if you are lucky enough to find a 1975 double die penny or a dramatic off-center strike, hold on tight. Some of these error coins have sold at auctions for between $500 and $2,000, or even more depending on the specific details and the collector demand at the time. Section 5. How to check if you have a valuable 1975 PNNY. First thing you want to do is grab a magnifying glass and a good light source. Look closely at Lincoln's face and the word Liberty and the date. If anything looks like it is doubled or blurry, you could have a double die. Next, check the mint mark. If it is AD for Denver, look closely for any signs of repunching or odd shapes. Also, examine the overall condition. If your coin is super clean with no scratches, spots, or discoloration, that is a very good sign. Finally, weigh the coin. A 1975 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If it weighs less or more, you might have an unusual planchet error, which could make it even more valuable. Section 6. Final THOUGHTS. The 1975 Lincoln penny may seem like just another old coin, but it has layers of history, value, and hidden potential from its roots, honoring one of America's greatest presidents. To the rare mint errors that can make collectors go crazy, this humble little coin can sometimes bring in serious money. So the next time you are digging through your change jar or sorting through an old collection, do not skip over those old pennies. Especially those from 1975, you just might be holding a small piece of American history that is worth a fortune. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more coin collecting tips and stories from history, and do not forget to leave a comment below, telling us if you have ever found a rare penny in your own collection. We are diving deep into a coin that millions of people have touched without even realizing its hidden value, the 1980 Lincoln 1-cent penny. Make sure you stay tuned until the end, because some of these coins are worth way more than just 1 cent, and you might just have one sitting in your pocket or coin jar right now. First off, let's talk about the history behind the 1980 Lincoln penny. The Lincoln penny has been around since 1909, when it was first introduced to celebrate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. It was the very first regular issue American coin to feature an actual historical figure instead of Lady Liberty or symbolic images. The design was done by Victor David Brenner, and the obverse features a portrait of Lincoln himself, while the reverse originally displayed 2 wheat ears. Now, by 1959, the reverse of the penny changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. That design, created by Frank Gasparo, stayed in place until the year 2008. That means the 1980 D penny shows the famous Lincoln Memorial design on the back. The D mint mark on this coin means it was minted at the Denver Mint in 1980. There were hundreds of millions of Lincoln pennies produced across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Specifically for the 1980 D Lincoln penny, the Denver Mint produced a massive total of around 5.14 billion coins. Yes, you heard that right, over 5 billion pennies. Because of this extremely high mintage number, most 1980 D pennies were expected to remain common and only worth their face value for a long time. But here is where it gets interesting. Despite the high production, some special examples of the 1980 D penny can be worth a lot of money today. There are certain factors that make these coins valuable. Collectors look for coins in perfect uncirculated condition, coins with errors, and coins graded by professional companies at a very high level, such as MS66 or higher condition, matters a lot. If your 1980 D penny looks beat up, scratched, or worn down, it probably will not be worth more than a cent. However, if it looks shiny, crisp, and almost brand new, you might have a valuable piece. Coins that have been graded MS65, MS66, MS67, even MS68 by PCGS or NGC can sell for serious money. For example, in auctions, a 1980 D penny graded MS67 red, meaning it has full original red color, has sold for over $250. That is right, $250 for a coin that started life as just 1 cent. Even lower mint state grades like MS65 or MS66 can still fetch between $10 to $50 depending on eye appeal and demand. But wait, there is more. One thing that can shoot the value of your 1980 D penny even higher is if it has a mint error. Error coins are some of the hottest items in the numismatic market today. Collectors love coins that have off-center strikes, double dies, repunched mint marks, clipped planchets, and more. If you find a 1980 D penny with a strong visible error, it could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Some examples include a double die obverse where the lettering or Lincoln's profile looks doubled, or maybe an off-center strike where the design is shifted significantly to one side of the coin. Major off-center errors can be worth between $50 to $250 depending on the severity, and eye appeal. Clipped planchet errors where a piece of the coin is literally missing due to an issue at the mint are also highly collectible. Those types of 1980 D penny errors can easily bring in $100 to $400 or more depending on size and placement. You might be wondering, how can you tell if your 1980 D penny is valuable? First, examine it under a good light. Look for luster, meaning that original shiny mint glow. Check for sharp details in Lincoln's hair and beard and the steps on the Lincoln Memorial on the back. The more details you can see without wear, the better. Next, check for any oddities like doubling in the text or the date or parts of the design missing or shifted. If you think you have a special coin, it is worth sending it to a professional coin grading company like PCGS, NGC, or Anaxa. Certified high grade or error 1980 D penny can be sold for a premium to collectors online, on eBay, at auction houses, or at coin shows. Now let us talk about current market values. In 2025, most circulated 1980 D pennies, meaning coins you find in change, will be worth 1 cent, maybe 2 cents if copper prices go up. That is right. Coins from 1982 and earlier are mostly copper, not zinc. The 1980 D penny is made of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Each coin weighs about 3.11 grams. Because of their copper content, these pennies can be worth more than face value just for the metal alone. However, melting coins for metal value is illegal in the United States at this time. Collectors value these coins more based on condition, rarity, and errors, rather than just the copper. So for most people, unless your coin is in mint state condition or has a visible error, it is going to be worth just a cent. But if you find a pristine, shiny 1980 D penny In MS66 or MS67 condition or one with a cool error, you could have something worth from $20 to several $100s. In summary, here are the key takeaways about the 1980 Lincoln penny produced at the Denver Mint with over 5 billion coins made. Common in worn circulated condition, valuable if found in high-grade mint state condition MS66 and a pluk for red color. Sharp details and no wear for best value. Error coins like off-center strikes, double dies, and clipped planchets can be worth hundreds. If you love coin collecting or just want to check your pocket change for a hidden treasure, the 1980 penny is definitely one to keep an eye on. It just goes to show that even something as small as a penny can have a rich history and serious hidden value. We are diving deep into the fascinating story behind the 1981 Lincoln 1-cent penny coin. This is one of the most widely circulated coins in American history. But did you know that some of these coins can actually be worth much more than just a penny? Stay tuned as we go through the full history, the key details, what to look for, and the current market value if you happen to have one sitting in your collection or even hidden in a jar of spare change. First, a little background. The 1981 Lincoln cent continues the famous design that has been in use since 1909 when President Abraham Lincoln first appeared on the U.S. 1-cent coin. This made Lincoln the first real person to appear on a regular issue American coin. The original design was created by Victor David Brenner and has become an iconic part of American coinage history. Fast forward to 1981, and we are looking at one of the last years before a major change happened in the production of pennies. You see, prior to 1982, pennies were made primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc. That gives these older pennies a much higher intrinsic metal value than the newer ones, which are made mostly of zinc with a thin copper coating. By 1981, copper prices were rising and the cost of making a penny was starting to creep dangerously close to or even exceed its face value. This led the U.S. Mint to prepare for a major composition change, but in 1981, the old copper alloy was still being used for every official issue. This makes the 1981 penny special not only because of its design but also because it represents the end of an era in American coinage. Now let's get into the details of the 1981 Lincoln penny. The obverse or front of the coin features the classic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln. Facing to the right above his head are the words "In God We Trust." To the left is the word "Liberty," and to the right is the year 1981. Below the year there may be a small mint mark which tells you where the coin was minted. No mint mark means it was made in Philadelphia. A small d means Denver and a small s means San Francisco. The reverse or back of the coin features the Lincoln Memorial, an image that had been used since 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. In very small detail, if you look closely, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln inside the memorial. On the coin, the words United States of America and E pluribus unum are written above the memorial, and the words 1 cent are written below. Now here is where it gets really interesting. While most 1981 pennies are only worth their face value or slightly more because of their copper content, there are some rare varieties and special mint issues that can be worth much more. One important thing to know is that in 1981, the U.S. Mint actually produced two different types of proof pennies. These are known as Type 1 and Type 2 proofs. Type 1 proof pennies from 1981 have a filled S mint mark, meaning the S looks kind of blurry or filled in. Type 2 proof pennies have a clear, sharp S mint mark. The Type 2 proof pennies are much rarer and command a significant premium among collectors. A genuine 1981 S Type 2 proof penny in perfect condition can sell for hundreds of dollars, and sometimes even over $1,000 if it is graded as perfect PR70 deep cameo by a top grading company like PCGS or NGC. Outside of proofs, there are also some rare varieties of the regular business strike 1981 pennies. These can include double dies, which occur when the coin die strikes the blank coin more than once at slightly different angles, creating a doubled image. This can show up most often in the lettering like "Liberty, in God We Trust," or even in the date 1981. A strong double die example can bring in anywhere from $50 to several $100s depending on its clarity and condition. Another thing that can increase the value of a 1981 penny is its overall condition. Coins that are in mint state, meaning they have never been used in circulation and show no signs of wear, can be much more valuable than circulated examples. A high-grade 1981D or 1981 no mint mark penny graded MS67 red, meaning full original red color, and in superb condition can fetch $30, $50 or more at auction. As the grade gets lower, the value drops, but high-quality examples are always in demand among collectors. So what is the current market value for the 1981 Lincoln 1-cent coin? Here is a quick breakdown. If you have a regular 1981 penny from circulation, it is worth about 2 to 3 cents simply because of its copper content. Remember, though, it is technically illegal to melt down pennies for their copper, but the metal value is still interesting to know. If you have a high-grade mint state 1981 penny, especially one graded MS65 or higher by PCGS or NGC, it can be worth anywhere from $5 up to $50 or more depending on the grade. And I appeal if you have a 1981 S proof penny type 1 with the filled S, it is generally worth $5 to $10 in nice proof condition. If you have the 1981 S type 2 clear S proof penny, you are looking at much higher values, generally starting around $75 and going all the way up to $300 or more for top grade examples. If you happen to find a double die variety, it can be worth anywhere from $50 to several hundred depending on severity and condition. To sum it up, while most 1981 pennies are common and not worth more than a few cents, there are absolutely some rare varieties and high-grade examples that can be worth real money. If you want to check your own 1981 pennies, look closely at the mint mark. See if it is a proof type 1 or type 2, and examine the lettering for signs of doubling. Also consider the overall color and condition. Full red uncirculated coins are the most desirable and valuable. That brings us to the end of today's video, all about the 1981 Lincoln 1-cent penny coin. If you found this information helpful, please do not forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel for more coin collecting tips and history, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. We have an amazing video lined up for you all, and it is about a small coin that could make a huge difference in your life. We are talking about the 1992 Lincoln 1-cent penny, and trust me, you will want to check your change jars after you hear this. So let us jump straight into it. The Lincoln penny has a long and rich history. It was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first regular issue U.S. coin to feature a real person's image, and it replaced the Indian head cent. Since then, the Lincoln cent has become one of the most iconic and collected coins in American history. Fast forward to 1992, the U.S. Mint was still producing the Lincoln Memorial reverse design, which had been in use since 1959. However, 1992 is very special because something happened at the mint that year that was not supposed to happen, and that mistake created one of the rarest modern pennies known today. The 1992 Lincoln penny has a regular version, and it also has an extremely rare version called the close AM variety. You might be asking what close AM means, and let me explain. On the reverse side of the coin, where it says United States of America, you will see the letters A and M in America. Normally, on a 1992 penny, these two letters have a noticeable space between them, but in the rare close AM version, the A and M are almost touching, and that is the secret detail that collectors are hunting for. The close AM pennies happened because the mint accidentally used a reverse die that was intended for the 1993 pennies, which had a slightly modified design. This mistake is so rare that only a handful of these close AM pennies have ever been found, and they are worth a fortune today. Now you are probably wondering, how much are these 1992 close AM pennies really worth? Well, it depends on the condition, but even a circulated example can bring thousands of dollars in top mint state conditions. Some examples have sold for over $20,000 at auction. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny could be worth over $20,000. Imagine finding one of these in your coin jar or in pocket change. That would be a life-changing moment. Not only is the 1992 close AM penny valuable, but there is also a 1992 D close AM variety. The D stands for the Denver Mint, where the coin was produced. Both the 1992 and 1992 D close AM pennies are extremely valuable and extremely rare. Some experts estimate that only a few dozen of each have been discovered so far, which means there could still be more out there waiting to be found. Let us talk a little more about what you should be looking for when you examine a 1992 penny. First, flip it over to the backside. Look carefully at the word America under United States of America. If the A and M are very close together, almost touching, then you might have a close AM penny. Use a magnifying glass or even a good phone camera to zoom in and check it closely. Also check the date to make sure it says 1992 and not 1993, because starting in 1993, the close AM was actually the normal design. Another tip when checking is to look at the designer's initials FG, which are located near the right side of the Lincoln Memorial base. On a close AM variety, the FG initials are further away from the memorial, while on the regular 1992 penny they are closer. This small detail can help you confirm if you have the valuable version. Now, moving on to the current market value as of 2025, a nice mint state 1992 close AM penny can sell anywhere from $15,000 to over $25,000 depending on its condition. Coins graded by top services like PCGS or NGC and placed in high-grade holders tend to bring the highest prices. Lower grade or circulated examples can still bring several $1,000s, which is not bad for a coin that originally cost just 1 cent. Even worn-out examples that are not in perfect condition can be life-changing finds for many collectors and treasure hunters. Today, the demand for rare error coins like the 1992 close AM penny is extremely strong. More people are searching their change and coin rolls than ever before, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for the rarest finds. So what does this mean for you? It means you should start searching your coins right now. If you have jars of pennies or boxes of coins sitting around, go through them carefully. You never know when you might stumble upon a 1992 close AM penny that could be worth thousands of dollars. Always check coins that look a little different or coins from the early 90s, especially 1992, and look closely at the AM spacing and FG initials, and remember, even if you do not find a close AM, you could still find other valuable Lincoln cents. For example, wheat pennies from before 1959 are collectible, and coins with major errors or oddities can also bring premium prices. Before we wrap up, let me give you a quick checklist to help you. In your search, number 1, look for 1992 or 1992D pennies. Number 2, check the spacing between the A and M in America. Number 3, check the FG initials for their position. Number 4, consider sending promising coins to a professional grading service. Number 5, always handle valuable coins carefully by the edges to avoid damaging them. That is it for today's video, everyone. If you learned something new or got excited about searching your coins, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more awesome videos about coins and collectibles. We have a lot more videos coming up where we uncover hidden treasures that could be sitting right under your nose. We dive deep into the fascinating world of coins history and hidden treasures. Today we have a really exciting video for you all. We are going to talk about the 1982D Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that might look ordinary at first but could actually be worth a lot more than just 1 cent. So make sure you stick around until the very end, because you might have one of these valuable coins sitting in your own pocket or coin jar right now. First, let's talk a little bit about the history behind the Lincoln penny. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical person on it, replacing the earlier Indian head cent. Fast forward to 1982, an extremely important year for the Lincoln penny, and one that collectors always pay special attention to now. 1982 was a year of major change for the penny. Up until 1982, the Lincoln cent was primarily made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, but due to the rising cost of copper, the United States Mint decided to switch to a composition of 97.5% zinc, with only a thin copper plating. This change meant that in 1982 both copper and zinc pennies were produced, and as a result there are 7 different varieties of 1982 pennies, including both large date and small date versions struck in both metals and at different mints. Specifically today, we are focusing on the 1982D Lincoln penny. The D mint mark stands for the Denver Mint, where this particular coin was produced. But what makes the 1982D penny so special? Well, it is all about the metal content. You see, in 1982, the Denver Mint was supposed to switch from copper to the newer, cheaper zinc planchets. However, a few rare 1982D pennies were accidentally struck on the old copper planchets. These rare transitional error coins are extremely valuable because they should not exist at all. They are a true minting mistake, and collectors absolutely love error coins like these. So how can you tell if you have a rare 1982D copper penny? The first and easiest way is by weight. A copper penny from 1982 weighs about 3.11 grams, while a zinc penny weighs about 2.5 grams. If you have a small jewelry scale that measures in grams, you can weigh your 1982D penny. If it comes out around 3.11 grams, then congratulations, you might have something very special. Another way to tell is by the sound. A copper penny makes a higher ringing sound when dropped compared to a duller thud sound from a zinc penny. This is not as precise as weighing the coin, but it can give you a clue if you do not have a scale handy. Now let's talk about the value, because that is what everyone really wants to know, right? Just how much is a rare 1982D copper penny worth? Well, if you have a genuine 1982D copper small date penny, it can be worth thousands of dollars. In fact, one authenticated example sold at auction for over $18,000. That is right, $18,000 for a penny. You heard that correctly. Even regular 1982D pennies are collectible to a certain extent, especially if they are in brilliant uncirculated condition or if they are a unique variety like a small date version. Generally speaking, most 1982D zinc pennies in average circulated condition are still only worth face value, or maybe a little more to collectors, maybe a few cents to a dollar. But if you find a copper one or a high-grade mint state coin that has been certified by a professional grading service, then you could be looking at a nice payday. Speaking of grading, when it comes to selling valuable coins, especially ones that might be worth thousands of dollars, it is really important to have them professionally authenticated and graded. Companies like PCGS and NGC are 2 of the most trusted grading services out there. They will examine the coin under magnification, test it for weight and metal composition, and assign it a grade based on its condition. A high grade can dramatically increase the value of your coin. Now let's take a moment to talk about the current market. As of today, coin collecting, especially error coins and rare varieties like the 1982D copper penny, is still extremely popular. Many collectors and investors are always on the lookout for rare coins to add to their collections, because rare coins tend to hold their value well and can even appreciate over time. Online marketplaces like eBay, heritage auctions, and great collections Frequently see 1982D pennies being sold. The rare copper small date varieties tend to bring in the highest bids, and they are highly sought after. Sometimes even a collector with a complete Lincoln cent collection will pay top dollar just to have that rare missing piece. So if you have one or think you might have one, it is definitely worth getting it checked out. Before we wrap things up, let me give you a few quick tips if you are searching through your coins at home. Keep an eye out for pennies from 1982 with a D mint mark. Weigh them if you can look closely at the date, because the small date variety is rarer and more desirable compared to the large date one. Also, always handle coins carefully, especially if you think they might be valuable. Use cotton gloves if possible, and never clean the coin. Cleaning a coin can drastically reduce its value to collectors. Always present it exactly as you found it. Alright everyone, that brings us to the end of today's video on the 1982D Lincoln 1-cent penny and why it could be worth a lot of money. I hope you enjoyed learning about this fascinating piece of American numismatic history, and maybe you are inspired to start searching through your change jar or old coin collections. You never know, you could have a small fortune hiding in plain sight. We are diving deep into the story of the 1993 Lincoln 1-cent penny. This coin might seem common at first glance, but there is so much history behind it, and believe it or not, some of these pennies can be worth a lot of money today. So make sure you watch until the very end. Let's start with a little bit of history. First off, the Lincoln cent was introduced way back in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. It was designed by Victor David Brenner, and it became the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's portrait on the obverse or the head side. Fast forward to 1993, and the Lincoln cent was still going strong, although it had gone through a few changes over the decades. The 1993 penny features Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse with the words "In God We Trust" above his head, liberty to his left, and the date 1993 to his right, with the mint mark appearing just underneath the date. If there is one, if you flip the coin over, you will see the reverse side showing the Lincoln memorial with the words United States of America e pluribus unum and 1 cent prominently displayed. Now, in terms of composition, this is where it gets interesting. Up until 1982, pennies were mostly made of copper, but by 1993 they were primarily composed of zinc with just a thin copper plating. Specifically, these coins are 975% zinc and only 25% copper, which was a major cost-saving move by the U.S. Mint in 1993. There were pennies minted in Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, D mint mark. Additionally, there were also proof coins made in San Francisco with an S mint mark. Proof coins are struck specially for collectors and have a much shinier and more detailed appearance. Now let's talk about the value and what you are really here for. How much are these coins worth today in circulated condition, meaning a penny you might find in your pocket change? Most 1993 pennies are still worth just 1 cent. However, if you find a coin in exceptionally good condition, known as mint state, the value can go up significantly. For example, a 1993 penny graded MS65 by PCGS or NGC, which are professional coin grading companies, can sell for between $5 and $10 each. While that might not seem like a fortune when you consider that it is just 1 penny originally, that is a massive return. If you have a 1993D penny from the Denver Mint in high mint state condition, it can be worth even slightly more. Top population coins, meaning coins that are the finest known examples, can fetch $50 or more at auction if the right collectors are looking for them. Now, if you happen to come across a 1993S proof penny, things get even more interesting, as standard proof might only be worth a few dollars, maybe $3 to $5 depending on the quality. But if you find a proof coin with no visible flaws, perfect deep cameo contrast, and it is graded PR70 DCAM by PCGS or NGC, then it could sell for upwards of $50 to $100 or even more. There are also some rare errors to watch out for. Errors happen when something goes wrong during the minting process, and collectors absolutely love them. For example, if you find a 1993 penny with an off-center strike, a double die error, especially on the obverse side, or a coin that is missing its copper plating, those can be extremely valuable. Some major error coins from 1993 have sold for hundreds of dollars. A missing clad layer, meaning the copper plating is gone, can result in a penny that looks silver or gray instead of its usual copper red. Those can easily sell for $100 to $300 depending on the condition and how dramatic the error is. Another thing to consider is color grading. Companies not only grade coins based on wear but also on color. A red designation, meaning the penny retains its original bright copper color, is the most desirable. A red-brown penny is less valuable, and a brown penny is usually the least valuable. So if you have a bright red shiny 1993 penny in mint state condition, you are looking at the higher end of the value scale. So to sum it up, if you have a 1993 penny and it is just a regular worn coin from your change, it is probably worth 1 cent. But if you find one that is bright red, has no signs of wear, and maybe even has an error, you could be looking at some real money. Collectors always recommend using a magnifying glass and good lighting when inspecting your coins. You never know what hidden treasure you might have sitting right in your pocket or coin jar. And before we wrap up, here is a quick bonus tip. If you ever decide to sell a Valuable penny, always consider getting it professionally graded first. It can cost a little bit of money up front, but having that official grade can massively increase the price buyers are willing to pay. Alright everyone, that is it for today's video on the 1993 Lincoln penny. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more coin history videos every week. And if you have a cool 1993 penny or another rare coin, drop a comment below and tell us about it. We love hearing your stories. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy hunting.